As a nation grows, so too does its need for an organized system of ranks and roles to meet the various logistical needs of their army. This is no different for Tamriel's largest conglomerate of milk-drinking cosmopolitans inhabiting the central heartlands of the continent. I'm speaking, of course, about none other than the mighty Imperial Legion. Throughout the eras, the Imperial Legion has showcased numerous changes to its ranking structure. This was most likely due to changes in their logistical needs over time, with such a vast army composed of so many different cultures influencing the roles and naming conventions of these ranks. The Imperial Legion as we know them today were born out of the Elysian legions of the First Era. Nearly 2 millennia of continued warfare and evolution would hone these legions into the deadliest and most efficient army Tamriel had ever seen. It wasn't until the Tiber Wars erupted in the year 854 to 855 of the Second Era where we would see a solidification of the rank and file. This prolonged campaign sought to unite all of the continent under one banner, the Septim Empire. By the events of Skyrim, the Legion's ranks have changed significantly from their previous ones utilized by the legions stationed in Morrowind. Unfortunately, very little information exists in regards to the specific roles and responsibilities of the ranks in either game. To mitigate this, I will be drawing heavily from in-game context clues, comparisons to the real-world Roman legions that the Imperial legions are based on, and a heaping helping of speculation. If y'all are ready to roll, let's hit the ground running with the ranks of the Imperial Legion. Citizens joining the Legion can expect to start as a recruit. Recruits, as the title suggests, are individuals in training to become a fully fledged legionary. Training for the ranks of the Legion has evolved to meet the demands of the army over the years, and is sometimes omitted altogether if the recruit proves themselves individually capable via tests, or if the recruiting legion is truly desperate for bodies. However, for most new recruits at any given time, they can expect to attend a rigorous training school designed to teach the individual the foundational warfare principles involved in combat. This training prioritizes the use of a sword and shield, the use of spears, heavy armor, and military maneuvers such as the phalanx, wedge, and tortoise formations. Many foundational disciplines are instilled at this point as well, including training in military bearing, endurance in battle and on the march, as well as agility and maneuverability in full kit. Following the completion of their basic training, they are awarded with the rank of auxiliary. In real life, an auxiliary is a support class that assists the main army or navy in their operations, combat, or otherwise. And in Imperial Rome, these were further delineated to troops that did not have Roman citizenship. As the Roman legions were primarily a heavy infantry fighting force, they would recruit auxiliaries that contained specializations in different skills that the legion may be lacking, or find advantageous on campaign. Some examples of these include archer units, missile troops, cavalry, and yes, even cohorts of mighty war elephants. However, in Skyrim, it appears that an auxiliary isn't a support group to the main Legion forces, but rather its entry-level rank. We know this because of a few factors. First off, the recruit has to take the Imperial Oath, swearing loyalty to the Emperor in order to attain the rank of auxiliary. I understand that this isn't sufficient evidence to say that they are part of the Legion proper, since support troops would more than likely have to take this oath as well to assist the Imperial Legion on the battlefield. But that brings me to the second factor. Do you know what is absolutely sufficient evidence that this is a rank within the Legion and not just a support role title? The fact that after receiving the title, you literally join the Legion rank and file as a legionary, getting your own set of armor from the Imperial blacksmith and everything, and immediately get dispatched to go fight the Stormcloaks with other legionaries. Leave it to Bethesda to utilize titles for things that have completely different meanings and history within our own real world.
All of this just works. It's not, I'm not kidding.
As an entry-level soldier, the auxiliary acts as the backbone for the Imperial Legion and presumably encompasses a significant portion of their manpower, especially here in Skyrim where the majority of the army are all recent conscripts from the region. I liken this rank to the Hastati from the Roman Republican period. Hastatis were light, frontline infantry and were often conscripted from the poverty class. Because of this, they had very little money to pay for equipment, hence the light part of the infantry classification. The exception was that of their sword and shield, which was so graciously funded by Rome itself in order to ensure their war machine could keep turning. Once a legionary has proven themselves worthy, they may be rewarded with a nice cushy promotion to Quaestor.
Here we go again.
Okay, so the Quaestor is another rank that doesn't have a direct equivalent to real life. As it turns out, Quaestor was a general title for an elected official in Rome, and the title also has zero in-game lore around it that I can find beyond its use as a rank in the Imperial Legion. It seems, however, that the ranks, at least at their lower levels, follow a trend of not signifying a change in duties or responsibilities as much as they signify a legionary's seniority. This was common practice amidst the ranks of the Roman legions during the Republican period, and was even the foundation for Rome's most famous military formation, the Triplex Axis. This was a battle line formation where the lightly armored hastati comprised the front line, the more senior and occasionally better armored princeps comprised the middle line, and the most senior, increasingly armored and elite triarii spearmen comprised the third and final rear line. And, well, speaking of the triarii, once a legionary masters the duty of a Quaestor, they'll surely be promoted to a As for this rank's equivalence, a Praefect was an actual office held in the Roman military at times. During the imperial period, this rank would be assigned to an officer of sorts, in charge of certain units. An example would be the Praefectus Equitatus, the commander of the cavalry. While I would love for this to be an equivalent rank amongst the Imperial Legions in Tamriel, I don't think it is. Like the aforementioned ranks, this most likely signifies a senior legionary, and is likely the Skyrim equivalent to that of the Triarii instead of a Roman Praefectus. That said, I do believe this next rank to be the first to signify an officer in the Imperial Legion. After a Praefect has mastered their craft, they will be promoted to Tribune. Again, information for this rank's duty and responsibilities in the world of the Elder Scrolls is practically non-existent. However, in Imperial Rome, a tribune was an officer, typically of equestrian class and notably ranked right above centurion, which was basically a high-level non-commissioned officer, and they were ranked right below legate, which was the equivalent to a modern-day general. The role of this position in Skyrim would undoubtedly be to ensure the mission readiness of the legionaries under them, as well as to lead them into battle. Part of what convinces me that this rank is indeed an officer rank, holding the duties and responsibilities that they would have in our real-world Roman legion, is not merely the title itself matching up, but also its position in the hierarchy being several ranks above the starting one, and the fact that the next rank is for sure an exact match to its historical equivalent. I am speaking, of course, about the rank of Legatus. Wait, wrong one. Yeah, now that's more like it. Legates are the top-tier officers of the Imperial Legions. They are primarily responsible for organizing, strategizing, and executing the will of the Emperor. In Skyrim, legates can be found leading operations from the various camps and Legion-controlled cities in the province. Rarely seen on the battlefield, the merit-based promotion system that the Legion utilizes ensures that only the best of the best rise to become a legate. This is not quite equivalent to that of the Roman legates, however. While they could be good warriors on occasion, most legates tended to achieve their position due to noble birth and government connections. The position could be quite lucrative while a legion was on campaign, and the prestige would often open doors for them to advance their careers politically. Should a legate lead a successful military career, it's quite possible for them to someday attain the coveted rank of general. While legates command a significant portion of the legion in field operations, a general is in command of the entire legion operating in an area, and takes their orders directly from the emperor himself. In Skyrim, the current leader of the Imperial Legion stationed in the province is General Tullius. Appointed as the military governor following the death of High King Torrig, Tullius leads his troops in a desperate campaign to stabilize the region against the rising Stormcloak threat. Generals are largely autonomous in their operations and have executive power to recruit, train, strategize, maneuver, and execute large-scale political and military operations, so long as it furthers the goal of the Emperor. While the aforementioned ranks seem to be the primary chain of command in the Imperial Legion, there are quite a few ranks that are utilized by those in service to the Emperor that do not fall within this ranking structure. That is to say, the Dragonborn can't achieve these ranks in their inevitable climb to the top. On the Emperor's ship, we can encounter the only known lieutenant to be documented in Skyrim. While this rank has been used by the Legion in the past, it's not at all represented in the main rank structure during the events of the Civil War. What's interesting about this rank, however, is who it's assigned to. Lieutenant Salwerus is a Penitus Oculatus agent charged with protecting the Emperor aboard his personal ship, the Catarrhia. What makes this unique is that the Penitus Oculatus organization has an entirely separate ranking structure to that of the Legion, and Lieutenant is not amongst them.
Stay tuned for a future video on the ranks of the Penitus Oculatus.
This means that our boy Salwerus is not a traditional agent of the Emperor's bodyguard organization. So if he's not exactly an agent of the Penitus Oculatus, and not primarily a legionary, what is this rank for? And what are his duties? Well, I think the answer is contained within the context that we find him. It may be that lieutenant is a rank specific to the Imperial Navy as of the year 201 of the 4th era. This rank is often used in navies in our real world and typically denotes a senior officer, usually second in command to a ship's captain. Seeing as how the Catarrhia already has a captain, I would wager that Lieutenant Salwerus belongs to the Imperial Navy first and foremost, is the second in command of the Catarrhia, and dons a Penitus Oculatus armor as a formality since he is among the Emperor's personal guard and would be the first line of defense against any would-be assaulters on the ship. Speaking of captains, we really only get to observe 2 Imperial captains throughout the course of the game. Although Hold Guards typically have captains as well, notably Captain Aldous, first we have the nameless Imperial captain that has our head nearly chopped off at Helgen.
Next, the renegade from Cyrodiil.
It's unknown where exactly she fits into the rank structure since we never achieved this rank in our climb to Legate. It's also unknown as to what her exact duties consist of. Although it does appear that she is captain of the guard here at Helgen. Seeing as how the town guard in many cities is headed by a captain, and the entire guard of this town consists of Imperial soldiers, it would make sense that her rank of captain is actually a title and not indicative of what her rank in the Imperial Legion would be. As captain of the guard in Helgen, her primary duties would involve training, disciplining, and managing the town guard to ensure the safety and security of the town, in addition to putting a stop to any and all lollygagging. Second, we have the aforementioned Captain Avidius of the Catarrhia. While not part of the Legion and even questionable as part of their navy, Avidius's primary duties as captain of the Emperor's private vessel would include managing the crew of the ship, as well as sailing it quickly and safely to the various locales the Emperor seeks to visit. Digging even deeper into the weeds, we have a rank that is mentioned in a line of dialogue with Captain Aldous, but is never once seen in the game. This is the rank of Private. It's unclear as to where this fits amongst the rank structure, but if it's anything like our modern day armies, I bet it's a soldier right out of recruit training, along the lines of an auxiliary rank. As to what their duties would include, well, your guess is as good as mine. To wrap up the ranks that we can find operating in Skyrim, we have 3 separate entries where I'm confident that they are more of a position or title than they are their own individual rank. Regardless, I felt it worth mentioning. Throughout the various forts of Skyrim, we can find fort commanders. Fort commanders are, as the name implies, responsible for commanding the legionaries that are assigned to the various forts and strongholds in the region. It would make sense then that they would carry out operations from these forts of their own volition and would be the first line of defense against any army seeking to destabilize the region. After the Legion successfully conquers a hold, they will remove the previous hold guards in power and establish their own Imperial Watch. These Imperial Guards perform all the same functions as their predecessors, including breaking up bar fights, menacing the local children, and taking bribes for all the Thane's heinous crimes, although they seem to complain less about arrow-in-the-knee issues than the previous guard. And finally, we have the Imperial Torturers. These torturers can be found deep underground in fort prisons where they are primarily responsible for collecting information from enemy prisoners, be it soldier or civilian. and using any means necessary to achieve this. And that about wraps up the individual ranks and roles we can see within Skyrim itself. It's unclear if this represents the full range of ranks and duties used in the Imperial Legion and other provinces in the area, but I highly doubt it. The Legion we find in Skyrim is an anomaly, seeing as how they are largely a conscript army and not a true representation of an Imperial Legion. I could see there being more ranks and roles utilized by the more formal legions in order to maintain their operational effectiveness, and hopefully those ranks make more sense than what we found here today. With all that said, thank you for tuning in, and may Talos guide you.